How I overcame the biggest regret of my life with less than $1. My grandfather passed away recently. He was one of the most important person in my life and I will always love and respect him for the rest of my life. Before passing away, he was very sick for a few months. During his last days, he was unable to eat almost anything for 4 days in a row. We rushed him to a local private hospital and the doctor there decided to tube feed him liquid food through his nose to stomach. It was a very painful process for my grandfather because during the process of inserting the tube in his nose, he was coughing uncontrollably and the tube was not going in his stomach properly. The doctor then injected him with sleeping medicine to calm him down and completed the process. After an hour, my grandfather asked me to feed him a banana. I asked the doctor whether it's okay to feed him actual food or not. The doctor said no. I came back to the hospital cabin and said to my grandfather, I can't feed you banana now. I'm sorry, the doctor said no. But my grandfather still kept requesting me over and over again. He said, if you feed me a banana now, I will buy you 12 bananas later. I still rejected that offer and requested him to stay quiet because the doctor said it's not good for him to talk too much in his current health condition. By the look of my grandfather's face, I realized that I have greatly disappointed him, but he stopped asking for banana. Next day, my grandfather was rushed to the ICU because his blood pressure dropped down to dangerous level. My grandfather survived that day, but he was unconscious. After that, a couple of days passed by. I went to visit him in the ICU and he looked at me for the first time after coming in the ICU. I was feeling so relieved thinking that he will recover soon. But the next night he had cardiac arrest and passed away. It was my first time witnessing someone I love suffer from illness and die. The thought of not being able to grant his last request towards me has stabbed my heart more than I can count. During that time of painful loss, I even thought to myself that if I knew that my grandfather is going to pass away, and this is the last thing he is ever going to ask me to do, I should have just done it. Regardless it's bad for his health or not, because he is dying anyway, right? But I didn't know that. I still had hope that he will live a longer life with us. All these thoughts were slowly suffocating me from inside. In order to get rid of this painful feeling, I wanted to buy a lot of bananas and give it to a lot of poor people. But because of COVID, I was unemployed and I didn't wanted to ask for money to my parents either. So I applied for a job, but that went horribly wrong too. Today I asked my sister that I am going to visit my grandfather's grave. Please shut the door. She knows I'm broke, so she gave me 100 taka for transportation cost. On my way out, I thought to myself, there's no way I'm spending this money for transportation today. I'm going to buy 24 bananas with this money and give it to the graveyard security guard so that he can distribute those to poor people. So like I planned, on my way to the graveyard I was able to buy 28 bananas with that money because I negotiated a little bit with the seller. I was feeling pumped up already, but because I spent all the money, I had to walk to the graveyard. On my way, I saw a poor old man begging for money to every people passing him by. I instantly decided to change my plan and gave that man a couple of bananas. It was my first time giving a helpless person a banana, so I was feeling uncomfortable. I decided to put the bananas aside and click a photo of those because I am going to share with everyone how it feels like. Maybe it was the first time the poor old man received a banana as help from someone, so he looked at my eyes and smiled a little bit. In that very moment, I remembered that a slight smile like this poor old man was also on my grandfather's face when we looked at him for the last time before we buried him. I smiled back at the old man, but I don't think he saw me smiling because I was wearing a mask. Then I kept moving forward and kept distributing the bananas to every poor person who's looking for help. By the time I reached the graveyard, by the time I reached the graveyard's back door, I still had 14 bananas left. On my way in, I gave a couple of bananas to the security guard, but kept the rest with me because I was feeling tremendous satisfaction by distributing these bananas myself. I went near my grandfather's grave and did qabr ziyarat like every Muslims do. I won't lie to you guys. I cried a lot because I cried a lot between that process. I was at a point that I was having trouble with saying dua properly. But all of this was just pushing away the pains and regrets I was carrying around in my heart with me. After finishing ziyarat, I decided to go out from the front gate of the graveyard. On my way out, I gave a couple of bananas to a poor old lady and an old grave digger, who also accepted a couple of bananas with a smile on his face. In the front gate, I saw a group of beggars who were desperately asking for help to a person who gave some money to one of them, but not all of them. I slowly stepped aside and handed over my banana bag to the front gate security guard and said to him that he can eat as many as he likes and distribute the rest to the poor helpless people. The security guard accepted my conditions with a smile on his face, and as I was leaving, I heard him calling the group of desperate beggars. But I didn't look back. I knew my mission was complete. At last. It was also time for Maghrib Salah, so I decided to say my prayers in the mosque nearby the graveyard. After my prayer, I usually say Allahu Akbar 34 times, Subhanallah 33 times, and Alhamdulillah 33 times to complete a round figure of 100. But today I said 100 for each, and came back home walking. On my way back home, a few poor people asked for my help too, but I couldn't help them because I was broke again. But surprisingly, it didn't made me very sad because I realized that I can do this for the rest of my life. So friends, that's how now I can confidently say that I have overcame my biggest regret with less than $100, because 100 with less than $1, because 100 taka is less than $1. But it's not about money, it's about sending a message. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.